Welcome, educators and lifelong learners, to the first episode of Classroom Convos, where we are going to deep dive into the world of teaching ELs. I'm your host, Tess Horn.
And I'm your host, Julia Hayes. We are thrilled to be here today. In today's episode, we are exploring a topic that may not be talked about a lot: what it takes to be an EL teacher. We are taking a deeper dive into the world of an EL teacher, instructional strategies, and how to support EL students and advocate for them.
Whether you're a general education teacher, an EL teacher, or any teacher in between, this episode is for you. Find a cozy spot, sit back, and relax, and let's explore the topic together.
We sat down with Eileen Baker to ask her a few questions about her experiences as an EL teacher.
Unfortunately, we could not record the answers due to how we conducted the interview, but we're going to share them with you here and dive deeper into her answers. Eileen Baker is an ELL teacher in Belvedere School District. She has been an EL teacher for almost 10 years. When we were interviewing her, we were very interested in ways general ed teachers could help ELs and ways to advocate for ELL students.
Our first question was asking her the benefits of knowing a second language and if she suggested general ed teachers having some sort of background knowledge in another language. She shared that she does think that it is very beneficial. One benefit is that when they are able to speak to you in their home language, they feel seen, supported, and welcomed.
She also shared that she did think it would be beneficial for gen ed teachers to have some sort of background knowledge that they are able to realize quicker that learning or knowing two languages is very difficult and takes a lot of brain power. Another thing that I think is beneficial is that, again, they are able to connect with those students. They do not have to know everything in that language, and she always tells her coworkers that even if they learn a few basic phrases or words in the EL's home language, it can go a long way. And then she said if the gen ed teacher just knows a basic background knowledge of the EL student, it tells them, like the students, that they're here, that the teacher is here for them. They support you, and they're going to figure everything out together.
This was super important for us to know because of the fact that having some sort of background creates an inclusive environment and shows the students that you do care for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that it can show the students the importance of keeping their home language while learning English. If the gen ed teacher encourages both the students' home language and English, it shows to them that English may be important, but their home language is just as important and impactful. Our second question, we really wanted to know what a day in the life as an EL teacher may look like, because it could be very different from school to school and also different from a gen ed teacher's day.
She told us that for her, she usually goes around and pulls out students for individual and small group sessions. For level 1 and 2 students, she usually pulls them out 3 to 4 times per week for 30 to 40 minute sessions. This is either through a small group or individual instruction, depending on what grade it is and what time of the day it is. For level 3 learners, depending on the grade, she pulls small groups out 2 to 3 times per week with 30-minute sessions. Level 4 learners get pushed in and are assisted during the school day and are pulled out to go over some lessons.
I thought that this was super interesting that they do both individual lessons and small group lessons with the EL students at her school, and I think that it's something that could help the students get the interactions with other students that they need without being separated from others throughout the whole school day.
I definitely agree with that. I think it's also important for EL students. Speaking about how her school day was structured, we also wanted to know what the method at her school looked like.
She shared that at her school they use the push-in and pull-out method, which is something that definitely has been coming up a lot in conversations in our classes. She also mentioned that for levels 1 to 3, they get pulled out for their 30-minute sessions during certain subjects that they are learning in their gen ed classroom. Usually around level 4 is when they get pushed into the classroom.
You're right. This is something that we definitely discuss a lot in the education world, and especially in some of our classes. This method allows students to stay inside of the general ed classroom for as long as they need, and then can get pulled out during times when they need help from the EL teacher.
It also allows the students to stay in the environment to expose them to other students for as long as they can and be able to interact with other students and their teachers. Speaking of interacting with students, that brings us to our next question. How can teachers be involved with EL students?
Eileen shared with us that there are a ton of ways that teachers can be more involved with ELs. One way is to contact families to help both of them and their children feel included and incorporate their culture into the classrooms. When families are updated and included in the classroom, it shows them that you care and that you want them to be involved, which then shows the students the same thing. She also shared that incorporating various cultures into the classroom can help students build empathy with other students because they are able to learn from each other's culture and experiences, and they build empathy based off those conversations.
I think it helps show the students that they are more than a student to the teacher and that they see them as a person who has stories and experiences to share and that their thoughts and experiences matter. I really enjoyed hearing that building empathy helps a lot because that is something that I try to focus on a lot. Building empathy allows students to see things from another person's perspective and feel their feelings and emotions.
Building empathy shows the students that they matter to the teacher, and I think it should be done no matter what grade level is being taught because people need to realize that we are here to learn from others.
I couldn't say it any better, Julia. Next, we were wondering about the instructional strategies Eileen used in her classroom.
She shared with us that she uses visual cues, emphasis on vocab, and student talk time during her instructional time. She uses visual cues a lot to help the students because a lot of times when we use the visual cues, it allows them to process the information or even build the schema that they need to comprehend the information that they are learning. Emphasis on vocab and developing vocab words also help a lot too because you are taking the time to explain the words and making sure that they understand them. Student talk is another good strategy to use, and she likes to use it in her small groups and encourages teachers to use it in the classroom because it allows the students to talk about their ideas or strategies that they want to use and allows the teacher to listen in and engage with them. I really thought that these strategies were interesting, especially using the visual cues. It's a great way to incorporate ways for ELs to come up with ideas of what they are talking about and be able to process the info on a level that works for them.
I also thought that the student talk time is a great strategy to use because it allows the students to work together and build the social skills that they need to thrive in the future, and it also gives the teacher a break from teaching and allows her to listen in and see the student's thought process. For our next question, we asked her if she had any suggestions on strategies that Gen Ed teachers can use with ELL students.
She shared with us that gradual release, which is the I do, we do, you do method, the use of sentence frames, and picture word models are all great strategies that could be used in the classroom. Gradual release allows students to slowly shift the responsibility for learning from the teacher to students, and everything is modeled for them on what they have to do. Sentence frames can help EL students start sentences and can help provide to them the structure or patterns that they need to express. Picture word models, I thought, was a great strategy that she shared with us because it uses pictures to help students learn new vocabulary words, and it is another great way for students to build comprehension and background knowledge.
I think that the picture word models is a great approach, and it is something that I might do in my own. We asked her what ways she incorporates technology into her lessons, and she told us that there are so many great resources out there that it's hard not to talk about all of them, but she shared with us that there are a ton of websites such as book builders where the websites read a stories to the child and allows them to click on words that they want a definition for. And she asked some comprehension questions. Another way she incorporates technology is by having her students complete web quests, which students are given a task and rely on their content knowledge and a grasp of English language to complete it.
She shared with us that even using multimedia approaches can be a way to use technology in lessons. Our next question, we had asked her what were some ways that she advocated for her students. She had told us that one of the best ways is to just listen to your students because the way that you can advocate for your students is to listen in to what they have to say. Another way is to be the voice for them when no one else is.
I think this is amazing advice, and it truly shows just how listening to your students can go a long way. When you just listen to your students, it shows them that you are there for them and will do anything to help them.
I agree. And speaking of advocating for students, we had also asked if she had any advice for connecting with students' families outside of the classroom. She told us to please include them in the process of learning too, because they deserve to know everything that is going on with their child in school. If you start out the year with an open relationship, you're approachable, and show that you care, they will feel comfortable with you and come to you with any questions or needs. Sending newsletters home is a great way that she shared with us that opens that communication. You could also make the newsletter accessible for everyone by sending home a copy of that family's home language so that they know what is happening in their child's classroom. She shared that encouraging them to come in and help throughout the school day also helps build that relationship too.
I really thought this was a great way to include families in the learning process. A lot of times teachers may not realize how important it is to include the families and may not try as much to include them. When you are approachable, it shows them that you are there, that you are there for them, and that you are always going to want them to come to you for help. and may also help motivate the child to want to learn too.
I agree. I think it is so important for teachers to really include families and put this practice into place and include them into your classroom. We would like to thank Eileen Baker for her time and for helping give us thorough answers to our questions.
Thank you. We both appreciate it, and our viewers appreciate it too. This brings us to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today as we dived into the world of EL teachers.
Thank you for listening and joining us. This is your host, Tess Horn.
And Julia Hayes. Have a great day.